All right, happy Monday, everybody. Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles now, and I'm coming to you from Indianapolis, the site of the 2026 NFL Combine. We'll be on Radio Row all throughout the week. Probably start doing some shows from there tomorrow, maybe a little bit later today, but for now, giving you some Eagles coverage on this Monday morning, February 23rd, from the Airbnb. And we're going to have you covered with fantastic coverage all throughout the week. Couple of programming reminders and alerts here. Of course, we'll be doing a lot of draft coverage, but a lot of people don't realize how big the NFL Combine is for speaking with head coaches around the NFL and general managers. Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman will speak tomorrow on Tuesday, back-to-back, 2:45 for Nick, 3 o'clock for Howie Roseman. So on today's show, I want to go through the biggest Eagles news, Eagles rumors, and storylines going into Combine week. And then tomorrow, we'll have those interviews with Howie and Nick right here up on the channel. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button for daily and year-round coverage of the EAGLES Eagles, but also turn on your notifications. Therefore, anytime I push out a video like this, anytime we go live, you will get that push notification. I want to begin here with some news that came across yesterday across the National Football League. Yesterday was a travel day for the Chat Sports crew as we flew here to Indianapolis. I tweeted this out on February 10th, and this is a dub for your boy here. So this tweet at Chase_senior on X was for me about 2 weeks ago. The Eagles weren't nearly as successful with the Tush push in 2025, and they got bounced in the wild card round. It's funny how there's probably not going to be any debate, nor are there going to be any conversations around banning the Tush push this offseason, looking ahead to the NFL Combine. Well, what do you know? Yesterday, all the top NFL insiders were tweeting an update out about this, and Adam Schefter specifically with this tweet. No team among the 32 has offered a proposal to ban the Tush push, and there has been no recent discussion about changing the rule, Rich McKay told reporters on Sunday. So predictable. No one likes us. We don't care. This is the exact conversation that we were having last year during the offseason, right around this time, a year ago, in the lead up to, during the NFL Combine, and then in the weeks and months after the NFL Combine, when first the NFL tried to get this banned, there weren't enough votes from owners to get the play banned, so they tabled it for further discussion for the meetings a little bit later in the offseason, and then even then, it got very spirited. Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, Jason Kelsey even gave a spirited speech to people around the NFL, and then it did not get banned, and it did not get shut down. And of course, the Tush push lived on, and it was legal for the Eagles to use in 2025. It's also crazy because I remember going around to all the different GMs last year and head coaches asking them, do you think that the Tush push should be banned? It was arguably the biggest topic of conversation at the NFL Combine a year ago. And there were so many GMs and coaches citing safety issues, despite the NFL doing a study which showed there were no safety concerns with running the Tush push. The funniest of them all was Sean McDermott on his high horse saying, I want the Tush push banned because I don't think it's a safe play. Yet the Buffalo Bills, since the Eagles started running this in 2021, 2022, have run the Tush push the second most times in the National Football League. And despite Sean McDermott going into 2025 saying, this isn't a safe play, I'm worried about the health and safety of our players, what did the Buffalo Bills do all year? They ran the Tush push. They ran it a lot, and it helped to decide some marquee games for Buffalo. In the wild card round, when they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, they beat the Jags partially because of the Tush push. So, Sean McDermott, do you not care about the health and safety of your players? The reason why there was a push to banish this play and take it away is because the Philadelphia Eagles became so dominant with it, because the Eagles won a Super Bowl, because they became the envy of the league and still are with their owner, GM, organizational structure, and because the Eagles reside and they play their games in the city of Philadelphia, and everybody likes to hate on the city of Philadelphia. But now it's not a conversation because, one, the Eagles got bounced in the wild card round. Two, the Eagles weren't as dominant in running the tush push as they had been in previous years. Other teams did a better job of finding ways how to stop the tush push, as they should. That's what football is all about. Exploit an opponent's weakness. And then, if you're the opponent that is getting exposed with your weaknesses, find a way to adapt, adjust, evolve, and get stops. Or stop what the other team is doing well. And the Eagles' tush push success rate, say that 10 times fast. I tweeted this out in December. 2022, 85.3%. The Eagles were 29 of 34 on tush pushes. 2023, 87.8%. 36 of 41. In 2024, it went down to 81%. Eagles still very good running the play, 34 of 42. And when I was logging these numbers, and as we knew all year, the Eagles really struggled with running the tush push. Offensive line wasn't as good. Jalen Hurts wasn't as good in running it, had some issues with ball security. And the Eagles' offensive line was very banged up. And so as of late December, the Eagles' success rate was at 68%, 17 of 25. And I believe the final numbers had the Eagles below 70% in running the tush push. They became so inconsistent with it that later in the year, they just didn't even run it at all because they knew that their offensive line wasn't as good and they weren't as good of a team at running the tush push. And it's also fair to question, with Sean Mannion coming in, new play caller, no history to the tush push, bringing in a completely new scheme, are the Eagles going to continue to run the tush push? We will certainly see. So I want to segue from that into the top stories going into the combine. And I did a quick YouTube short on this, which obviously is only 60 seconds as part of the short form platform here on YouTube, as I did a little bit of a run at Lucas Oil Stadium, 20 degrees with snow coming down. It's not the blizzard that people are getting in the tri-state area, but it is chilly here in Indy. And I went through some of these storylines, but let's go through some more. With Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman scheduled to speak tomorrow, I think all of these topics are going to be viable topics to discuss tomorrow. And Howie and Nick are going to be asked about a lot of these questions here. Number one, Howie and Nick have not spoken to the media since that end of the season press conference. So now Nick Sirianni going into 2026 on the hot seat a little bit. And clearly there was a lot of pressure to get this offensive coordinator role right and the hiring right. So how did the Eagles decide on Sean Mannion as their new offensive coordinator? From the decision makers, Nick Sirianni, Howie Roseman, how did they look at Mannion as the guy who they wanted to be their new play caller and OC going into 2026 with a veteran-laden offense that is still in the Super Bowl window? Sean Mannion was playing as recently as 2023. He has 2 years of coaching experience, has never called plays before. So this is definitely a little bit of a risk, but I love the aggressiveness. I like how the Eagles are taking a chance here. And Sean Mannion is a guy who a lot of people are very high on all across the National Football League. Sean Mannion is also bringing in a lot of new members to the offensive coaching staff. So will the Eagles literally be changing their whole offensive scheme? Will it be a Matt LaFleur, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Clint Kubiak, Kevin Stefanski blend? Or will it be a blend of those offenses with what the Eagles have been doing under Nick Sirianni since 2021, which has still been a successful offense? Or are they going to usher in a new era of offensive football in Philadelphia to have this offense more up to the modern day standards as far as play calling, concepts, play designs, and such? What happened with Jeff Stoutland? And why did he leave the Philadelphia Eagles after 13 years? Chris Cooper is now going to be the new offensive line coach for the Eagles. This is also a big swing. Will it be a miss or will it be a home run? What the Eagles want to do with this new offensive scheme, if they do change it, is different from an offensive line philosophy. Blocking, technique, coaching tendencies, coaching fundamentals than what Jeff Stoutland has ever done. Jeff Stoutland has no ties to the Sean McVay, Shanahan, LaFleur offense. And the offensive line philosophy, how he was taught offensive line play, the pillars of it, is different than what those offenses coach up. So did the Eagles want to move on from Stoutland? Did Stoutland want to move on from the Eagles because he had no previous history with this Eagles organization? Is he still going to be involved in a way? What happens? He was with this team for 13 years, and he's one of the best assistant coaches in the history of this Eagles organization. The big one, and this will be a big topic of conversation, not just for the Eagles, but other teams across the NFL. Will A.J. Brown be an Eagle in 2026? Will Howie Roseman shut the door on all this A.J. Brown trade buzz, or will he leave the door ajar? If he leaves the door ajar, and how he phrases this, the vocabulary, the word usage, the sentence structure that he uses, it's going to be dissected, will either lead to the Eagles shutting down any trade buzz, or the door could be open for A.J. Brown to get dealt this upcoming offseason. We've gone through all the cap numbers. It would be really hard for the Eagles to move him, but do they eat some of that dead money to move off of A.J. if they think he's too much of a distraction? For the record, I wouldn't trade A.J. Brown. I don't think it makes the Eagles better as a football team. We know that Lane Johnson is coming back for the Eagles in 2026. Is Landon Dickerson going to retire, or is he going to return? We'll ask Nick and Howie about that as well, because I will be from here basically to the camera, right in front of Nick, right in front of Howie. And I will be scouting out my standing position so that I can bring you the best Eagles coverage right here on Philadelphia Eagles. Now, a lot more to get to here on the show. But first, we're coming to you from Indianapolis. Thanks to our friends at PrizePicks. Shoot your shot on PrizePicks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. PrizePicks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up today and play your first $5. PrizePicks makes every dunk, every dime, every board that much more exciting. So don't miss this chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. PrizePicks is very simple to play. All my real ones out there. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Pick from all of your favorite sports, including anything from basketball, baseball, hockey, UFC, soccer, college basketball, tennis, golf, esports, and more, especially when football comes back around. You can also find your community on PrizePicks. With the new social feeds feature, you can share PrizePicks with your friends and sign up today. This is America's #1 sports picks app, and millions of people have signed up. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Back to the biggest storylines going into the NFL Combine. The Eagles have 2 edge rushers under contract going into 2026. Nolan Smith, who's up for a contract extension, and Jaelan Hunt. Both of those players have steadily improved with Philadelphia. Both of those players are marquee players on the defense, and you can see a world where they continue to ascend, get better, improve, and become really high-end pass rushers in this league. There is some chatter that Nolan Smith could sign a contract extension this offseason, which pays him around $15 million per year. I'd love that. I think it's worth it. He plays bully ball. He's very physical, plays bigger than his size. He has twitch, bend, speed coming off that edge, but he is violent against the run. Character-wise, no concerns there. Eagles really value him in the locker room. And in a robust edge rusher market where the likes of TJ Watt, Maxx Crosby, Micah Parsons, and others are making $30 to $40 million per year. If you can get Nolan Smith at 15 and he ends up playing well, a steal for Philadelphia and a savvy move potentially for Howie Roseman. But with the Eagles only having 2 pass rushers on the roster going into 2026, because Brandon Graham is a free agent, Obu Okoronkwo, Azeez Ojulari, Josh Uche, also free agents. Does Howie have interest in acquiring a talent like Maxx Crosby? This time last year, the Myles Garrett rumors were hot. They were scintillating, right? Now, here we are in 2026. There's a lot of chatter about Maxx Crosby potentially getting dealt, but the Raiders want 2 first-round picks. And I talked about this on Friday. For Myles Garrett, 2 first-round picks, I'd give it up. 2026, 2027 first-rounders, that's fine. You take it. Literally one of the best defensive players in the history of football and a menacing player who just set the sack record this past year and is one of one, showing no signs of slowing down. His body type is one where I think that he can continue to be a very dominant player. I'm not giving up 2 first-round picks for Maxx Crosby. Maxx Crosby is not the athlete that Myles Garrett is. He's not the player that Myles Garrett is. Now, he's still elite, but Myles Garrett is in his own tier. So in any negotiation, the asking price starts very high. And for Maxx Crosby right now, the Raiders want 2 ones. I'd give that up for Garrett. I would not give that up for Crosby. But does Howie have interest in acquiring a player like that? Or do the Eagles want to build through the draft? Remember what Howie said after the year. We have drafted and developed on defense. We have spent a lot on offense. This past year, Eagles had the most expensive offense in the National Football League. But he said after the year, that's going to have to change a little bit because now we have defensive players up for contract extensions. Jalen Carter is another one. Quinion Mitchell-Cooper, DeJean soon. Now Philadelphia will have to draft and develop on offense. That's another topic we can ask Howie about. Who do the Eagles prioritize bringing back among their marquee free agents? Jaelan Phillips, Dallas Goedert, Nakobe Dean, Blankenship. And how close was Vic Fangio to retiring? Christian Parker leaving for the Dallas Cowboys. He's getting rave reviews with Dallas. The Eagles also had interest in Jim Schwartz if Vic Fangio were to retire. There are so many juicy storylines around the Philadelphia Eagles going into Combine Week. And think about where we are right now. Free agency starting March 9th with the legal tampering window. NFL draft at the end of April. It is going to be electric around the birds. And I got you covered every step of the way. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back later with another Philadelphia Eagles Now. Until then, go Birds. We'll catch you soon as we're rocking out in Indy, the site of the 2026 NFL Combine. Let's go.